If you've grown up or lived through the 90s, you've heard of the name Nokia. It is a household name for phones, for smartphones. Essentially for mobile telephony, the first name that ever came to anyone's mind was Nokia. With Microsoft's launch of the Lumia phones, essentially the end of Nokia as a smartphone company, as a mobile phone manufacturer, has officially come about. Today we're going to revisit Nokia and tell you a couple of things that you probably didn't know about the company. My name is Bharat. Let's revisit Nokia. Nokia was not always an electronics manufacturer. Back in the year 1865, Nokia started as a small paper mill. They grew about in business and they started their second paper mill around the town of Nokia. The name Nokia comes from the river Nokia Verta, which is in Finland. So paper was not essentially Nokia style, and they started working with rubber, electricity and cables, and they got large government orders. And in the year 1960 is when the company decided to get into electronics. Like any other major corporation of the world, Nokia started working with the military, and in the years from 1960 to 1979 manufactured and developed a lot of electronics for military use, for army use, for use by governments, which essentially made the company bigger and stronger to what it could do later on in the future. So in 1979, Nokia took its first steps into telephony by creating Movira Oy, a joint venture with Finnish television maker Salora. They also created Nordic Mobile Telephone Services, which was later called NMT for an abbreviation of the name. It was the first telephony services which was going to be wireless. In the 1970s and 80s, Nokia launched a device called the Sonoma Let Järjestelmä, which was essentially a message-based communication device. So you weren't calling people, you were sending messages. This device was used by the Finnish military, and they used this to send encrypted text messages between one another. This later on transferred into something that we use on a day-to-day basis called the short messaging service, or SMS. Nokia also launched the first car phone called the Movira Senator. It was the first wireless communication device that was ever installed in a vehicle. In 1987, the Movira Cityman became the first portable phone from Nokia which could be carried around on person. It was lightweight, roughly 800 grams for the time, and it was relatively cheap, costing about $6,000 US. At the time, a device that could make calls while on the go was an innovation, was a revolution, and this device was one of the first to do that. For all those who really read into politics back in the day, Mikhail Gorbachev was found using this device, and the phone was nicknamed the Gorba in Finland because basically the person who disassembled the USSR was found using it. So from mobility in 1980s, Nokia decided to get into personal computing, and they designed their first devices called the Micro or the Micro, and they were designed to be personal computers. This division was later on sold to Fujitsu, who then converted them into their laptop division, which you can still buy today in certain markets. So Nokia attempted to make laptops again with the Nokia Booklet 3G in 2009, and this attempt was as futile as the first one, and they dropped making laptops after this one. In fact, the first device used to make a satellite call in 1994 was a Nokia device. The world's first GSM call was made in 1991 in Helsinki over a Nokia supplied network by the Prime Minister of Finland. If you've heard of Nokia and if you've lived through the Nokia generation, you probably recognize this tune. So it is estimated that this tune is played daily about 1.8 million times. That's more than 20,000 times per second. This was first developed by the company as a brand image in the 1990s with their 2100 phone. Nokia also popularized mobile phone photography, and at one point of time it was the largest camera supplier to the world because in its phones were its cameras which were being used by everyone. So at one point of time Nokia was the largest vendor of cameras, albeit in phones, but it was essentially the largest provider of cameras to people. Nokia has also been a trendsetter, so to speak. The Nokia 1100 was the highest selling mobile phone ever made. 250 million units of the device was sold, which set a benchmark for many devices to come. At the peak of its existence in 2008, Nokia sold over 475 million handsets, which is a record that is yet undefeated. The Nokia 3310 was an iconic phone as well. It was launched on September 1st, 2000 the year 2000, and it was one of the most durable phones that was ever made for a consumer. This phone would fall, would break apart into pieces. You could basically put it back together and start using it again. In fact, even today, after the invent of several smartphones, several metal-made phones, the Nokia 3310 is believed to be one of the most robust phones, and it is essentially a cult center, and it's become a cult favorite where people make internet memes and make lots of jokes around the Nokia 3310 that it would survive the tsunami, etc. But the Nokia 3310 has become an icon and will remain an icon at least through the generation who've seen it. The Nokia 1011 was the first phone, which was the mass-produced phone for general markets. After its army and military applications, Nokia came into the market with the first consumer-friendly phone. It was the 1011. The memory could hold 99 phone numbers at the time, and it sold for a whopping $1,600 US. The design of the device was really iconic, and a lot of manufacturers, I'm guessing from China, copied the design and made pencil boxes for kids that looked like the phone. In 2002, the Nokia 3510 was the first phone that could process data over GPRS. That basically led to data over mobile networks. The revolution that we have today, 3G and 4G networks. The 3510 was one of the first devices to do GPRS over wireless networks. In 2007, Nokia acquired a Chicago-based company called Navtech. They were the largest manufacturers of navigation for automotive industry. And Nokia acquired this and later on made this into what we know today as Here Maps. It is one of the largest mapping technologies that is available in the market today. They sell their data to a lot of companies including Garmin, Amazon.com and BMW for their navigation equipment. Despite its sale to Microsoft as a smartphone company, Nokia retains its Here Maps business and will continue working on it and supplying several independent applications for iOS, Android as well as Microsoft phones or Windows-based phones as Here Maps as an independent application, which essentially is known to be loved by users. However, their interfaces were not appreciable on iOS and Android, and Nokia is working on redesigning their ecosystems. Nokia Networks, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Nokia, will also stay back with the company. It's a multinational data network and telecommunications equipment company, and they provide customer care support, fixed mobile convergence, hosting, IP television, mobile TV, WCDMA frequency, and a lot more to governments, railways, and other big institutions. Anyone and everyone who follows Nokia is also aware of the MeeGo operating system. When Nokia announced that Microsoft would be acquiring Nokia, the whole MeeGo division quit and formed Yola, which recently launched their Yola phones in India. While at a starting stage, this OS is supposed to be the next promising operating system that is going to change about the market strength from Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. Let's see what the future holds, but Yola is now an independent company. Another company that a lot of people are familiar with is Virtu. Virtu was a luxury sort of division of Nokia where they would manufacture luxury phones based on Symbian. Recently, the company shifted its focus from making Symbian phones to Android smartphones, continuing what they used to do. This division also remains independent and has not been acquired by Microsoft. Well, whatever the future of Nokia may be, this 10-year agreement between Microsoft and Nokia essentially marks the end of Nokia as a brand that used to manufacture phones. Whether after 10 years Nokia retries the mobile market, whether it attempts to remake phones is yet unknown. But what happens in the next 10 years will essentially decide what the resultant of Nokia phones is going to be. Will Microsoft be able to continue Lumia phones and sell them because they've been cold since their launch, since the inception of Windows Phone, and they've not been very well appreciated into the market? Will Nokia get to see the future yet again? A lot of people who've used Nokia as a household brand are truly sad today. But what do you think? What is your thought? What do you feel about Nokia's end as a smartphone manufacturer? Let us know in the comment section below. More details, more news, and more revisits on iGyaan.in. And make sure you subscribe to us for more such videos. This has been Bharat for iGyaan. Thank you guys for watching.